Step 3, know that it is ultimately okay to go your separate ways. It's a practical step because many times people forget this. They feel stuck in a relationship, they feel stuck in a contract, they feel stuck in a business. But it's not as bad as it seems, usually. When you break free from things, it's because the purpose of that thing no longer resonates for you. Once the purpose of a relationship has been transcended, has been extracted, why would you hold on to that empty container? So you gotta be really honest with yourself and trust that it is actually okay to move away from certain beings, from certain companies, from certain contracts, that sometimes the time has come to move on, to make a change. So step 3 is know that it is ultimately okay to go separate ways. It's not a bad thing. So if your change of heart is patiently, clearly, honestly, and kindly communicated to all parties that agreements were made with, that will be affected by your new direction. And now if the other party refuses to work with your newfound resonance, search your heart. So if they, like you've communicated clearly, right? So first there's this new vision for your reality. Then you bump into this gray zone, like, I did make this agreement with this person, but now I'm really excited about that thing or that person or that event. What do I do? Step 2 is you communicate. You communicate as clear as you can. Once you've done that patiently, not rush it and then, oh, well, you don't appreciate my resonance, but patiently, you've given it some genuine attention, you've given it some genuine care, you honor the other person's relationship with you or the other contract or business's relationship to you. Now, if the other party then still does not come to their senses and does not honor the principle of resonance, both in themselves and in you, if they don't wish to give you that freedom, then I say here, search your heart, which is again the same as I said in step 2, which is rely on yourself. Like really, really search for the highest possible intuition you can get in that moment, the highest clarity you can have access to. If you find that there is a way to maintain your reasonable agreements while following your heart simultaneously, go for that, unless it really does not excite you to remain with that agreement at all. Then, it's obvious that you are meant to move on, regardless of other people's feelings ultimately, or the agreements that you've made. So if this is not possible, this combination of maintaining the reasonable agreements that you've made, while also honoring your own resonance, if this seems not possible, then follow your heart and know that separation is only an illusion and not a real thing. This is sort of a last step kind of thing. It usually is not necessary when communication has been really clear. It's my experience that hardly ever is it necessary if communication has been really honest, really open, really vulnerable, really clear. So really emphasize step 2, the communication part first. But if all else fails and the other person or being or contract or whatever is not to be reasoned with at all, again, search your own heart. This is the gray zone. See what you want to do. Do you want to stay in that agreement, or do you really, really want to move on and trust that that will shift your reality? Ultimately, I would say choose for the latter, because you need to follow your excitement. It's important. You can postpone it for a little bit for the sake of integrity, for the sake of aligning your whole being so that in a congruent, 100% committed way, you can go about your passion and not have to look back and feel regret. But there is no sense in staying in something that truly just no longer fits you. So trust that it is okay to go separate ways. The essence of your relationship to another can never be separate or lacking. Know this. The essence of your relationship, the energetics of it, the spirit connection of your beings can never be separate. Only on a physical singular slice out of all that is potential possibility can it seem like things are lacking and missing, but it's not actually the case. Respect the importance of one another's journey and the choices that have to be made to honor one's resonance. This goes both ways. You want what's best for them. You want their journey. You honor their journey, their free will, what's important for them. And similarly, you honor your own. And you, in a sense, demand that they honor that too. That should be implied in any type of relationship or contract, but oftentimes it's not. So you have to communicate this as clearly as you can, that you wish to honor your own resonance and you wish to honor theirs. Don't live your entire life suppressing your resonance for the sake of an agreement you once made. There's always a way to follow your heart while maintaining the highest degree of integrity. If it seems like it's either A or B, ask for option C, the third unseen option. Right? So if it looks like, okay, I either follow my excitement and break everyone else's heart, everyone that's important in my life so far, or I break all my agreements and all my contracts, or I stay in my contracts and I stay with the people that mean a lot to me, or that have meant a lot to me, that I have committed a lot of time to and that have committed a lot of time to me, but I will be suppressing my joy and I will be suppressing my journey, my free will, my resonance, my higher self's guidance. Then, if anything, choose the joy part. If you have to make a choice, choose the joy part. But try this first. Ask for the higher, third, more creative, out-of-the-box thinking, unseen option. There's always a third option that allows you to maintain that integrity through communication, usually, while then, in a sense, dealing with things and solving these things and getting really clear with those existing agreements, while you then can fully, congruently go about and explore your new direction. Step 4. This is just sort of an additional tip, which is avoid making more static agreements in the future. Time is speeding up collectively and individually. You are empowering yourself. This means that on an everyday basis, more and more and more changes will occur. You cannot say who you are the next day. It becomes harder and harder to determine who you're going to be. So just, I wouldn't say be careful, but be a little bit careful when you're entering new agreements. Realize that you can change your heart at any instant. It's not certain that you'll remain the same person you are today. So just always know that when you're making new agreements from now on onwards. And somehow, in the agreements that you do resonate with making, have this fine print, or not fine print, but this big title, say, this is all the case. This agreement is the case as long as it honors both of our journeys or both of our resonances. So always include something in the communication with that person or with that business or with that contract that allows you the freedom to not have to break that agreement if you wish to change yourself, if you wish to change your path. So always include that in the conversation. If you are making new, static, seemingly long-term agreements, include that in the conversation, that it should be about each other's resonance, that should be paramount. Each other's free will and each other's journey should be appreciated and completely honored. And if at some point that doesn't match up anymore, that should be appreciated, that should be supported. So that has to be in the contract. If that's not in the contract, then I would simply say, and if no negotiations seem to be possible, so then unless you're absolutely certain and absolutely completely excited about that long-term static contract, which does not seem to allow for any fine print in terms of following your resonance at any given moment, then I would say don't. Okay? Often we enter into agreements that only partially resonate for us because we think that, well, it's better than nothing, or at least I'll get some payment, or at least I get some kind of relationship. But it has to resonate. Sure, don't be too quick to say no. Explore what's actually there for you. Explore what that thing, that agreement, that relationship could become for you. Give it whatever you have to give in that moment to explore that. However, if the agreement or the communication or the conversation at some point does not seem to allow for the freedom that you desire for yourself, then I would say walk away from that agreement if no negotiations are possible. Because then at that point, it's no longer exciting. You're about to enter into a jacket that's already too tight to begin with, let alone 2 weeks from now, let alone 2 years from now, when you're expanded even more. If it already feels a little bit tight to enter that agreement or to sign that contract, don't. You can attract something way better the next day or even the next hour or the next minute. You can walk away from that contract with a smile on your face, confident in the abundance, the endlessness of existence, that infinite parallel realities exist, and that as soon as you shift your frequency, you will literally attract a different opportunity. If you know that and you walk away from that agreement, which you thought was actually kind of awesome, except for this one thing that felt like a contraction, if you walk away from that agreement with a smile on your face, absolutely confident in the abundance that you can generate whatever you truly desire, then the very next day or the very next minute, you will get a phone call with a new opportunity. This is just a manner of speaking, but actually, literally, physically, this is what always happens. when you have faith in your journey and know that you can create something that is a 100% reflection of who you are, then you don't have to settle for something that is only partially resonant and that sort of teases your lack beliefs like, well, if I at least accept this agreement which resonates for 85%, then at least I'll get payment, I'll be able to buy my food, and I'll have some love. If it only partially resonates, you don't need to accept that agreement. You really don't. You really don't. You can create something even better. Knowing that, be confident in the abundance of existence. You'll be in alignment, and that alignment will create the actual reality. Don't be teased by your lack beliefs. There is no lack. So for this lesson's homework, I would like you to continue the previous lesson's homework, which again is to prioritize your joy over your schedule, over anything that you would think normally you have to do or you should do. Really start experimenting with rooting yourself in the most exciting options available to you and start acting on these and start making the most out of these and start integrating them in your life. And now do that with the integration of your newfound knowledge and awareness, hopefully, of what it means to maintain integrity. I know this lesson was a little bit jumbled, it was a little perhaps complicated, but you can always refer back to this lesson and just read it through or listen to it again a couple times and then test it out in the field of your life, and you will bump into these experiences, and then you'll be again able to refer back to the lesson, and combined with your own testing experiences and this lesson, you will be able to come to a really clear, intuitive, self-reliant way of maintaining your integrity while you're absolutely acting on your excitement every single day with no concessions, except for maintaining your integrity, which is the perfect balance. Again, you want to be congruent in your new choice. You don't want to have to look back. You don't want to feel like a portion of you is left behind because you didn't solve something properly or you didn't give it your best shot. So thank you. Enjoy the new balance, and I'll see you for the next lesson, which will add yet another principle to this equation of prioritizing your joy and excitement. Keep following that breadcrumb trail, one moment at a time, no expectation of where the next one may be, just one moment at a time, blind with passion, blind with love, blind with excitement.